Absolutely. A pretty significant development. We're talking pop superstar Katy Perry and actor Orlando Bloom. They've officially confirmed their split. And this is 6 years after they got engaged. We're seeing reports from Reuters, AP, like 12 hours ago. So our mission today really is to unpack all of this. The immediate details, the relationship timeline, and what these outlets are saying actually led to it. But the big thing, right off the bat from their statement, seems to be this focus, a real focus on co-parenting.
Yeah, and that focus, like you said, it feels quite deliberate, doesn't it? It's a key part of how public figures, try to navigate these really scrutinized personal lives, especially when there are kids involved. That immediate emphasis on, well, their shared commitment to their daughter, it sets a very specific tone. It almost like gets ahead of the public interest and the speculation that, always happens.
Right. Okay. So let's dig into the official word then. Their reps put out this joint statement to U.S. media outlets, and the core of it says they have been shifting their relationship over the past many months to focus on co-parenting. It's a really specific phrase, isn't it? Shifting their relationship. They also stressed they will continue to be seen together as a family, and their main priority is, and always will be, raising their daughter with love, stability, and mutual respect. And apparently this statement came out because of, quote, an abundance of recent interest and conversation around them. But what does shifting their relationship really mean? I mean, why not just say, we've split up?
Well, that's what's fascinating, isn't it? That exact framing.
Yeah.
It's so deliberate. It's not just, we're done. It's a strategic announcement, a shifting of relationship, like you said, with this really clear shared goal. Co-parenting. It really shows how meticulously public figures manage their narratives these days. They're not just breaking up, they're kind of setting the rules for how their family is going to look publicly moving forward. And that phrase, shifting their relationship, it's a smart PR move. It lets them acknowledge a change, without maybe admitting failure outright. And it also suggests it was mutual, thoughtful, not just some messy, abrupt ending. And most importantly, focusing right away on co-parenting. That strategically moves the public's attention from romantic drama to responsible parenting. It minimizes the gossip, protects their brands from that whole bitter breakup story, and crucially, it sets a pattern for how they'll deal with the press about their family from now on. It's very proactive, almost, mature, you could say, for handling this stuff in the digital age.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a mature approach. And, to really get where they are now, it helps to look back a bit. Our sources remind us they first got together, romantically linked anyway, back in 2016. And like a lot of couples, they actually split briefly in 2017. Didn't last long, though. They got back together pretty quickly. Then the big engagement news, Valentine's Day 2019. Katy actually revealed that herself on Jimmy Kimmel Live. And then 2020, another huge moment, she announced her pregnancy in the music video for Never Worn White. I mean, this was all playing out very, very publicly.
Oh, absolutely. And if you sort of connect that to the bigger picture, their history really does show a public relationship, all the usual ups and downs like any couple. But it's under this constant intense scrutiny. Every single step, every appearance, every rumor, it just gets blown up. Think about it, right? A regular couple deals with this stuff privately. But for them, fan theories, paparazzi shots, social media comments, it all becomes part of their relationship story. And then later in 2020, their daughter, Daisy Dove Bloom, was born. And here's a really interesting detail, actually, that kind of underscores their public identity. UNICEF announced the birth on its Instagram account.
UNICEF, wow.
Yeah. It wasn't just some, celebrity baby announcement. It clearly reflected both of their roles as goodwill ambassadors for UNICEF. So announcing it through UNICEF kind of wove their new family into their humanitarian work. It positioned them not just as celebs, but as like a family with this global purpose right from the start. It says a lot about their shared values, maybe even their long-term ideas for raising their child.
So, beyond the official statement, the sources are starting to peel back layers. Looking at maybe the deeper reasons for the split, we're hearing about problems that have plagued them for years, so this suggests it wasn't, sudden. And the core issue seems to keep coming back to this. Quote, too much going on in their lives, which makes it hard to find time for each other and iron out disagreements. I mean, when you've got two massive global stars, what does too much going on even look like practically for a relationship? Is it just busy schedules or is it deeper?
That's a really good question, because it's not just that they're busy, it's the kind of busy, right? And the intense demands. For celebrities, too much going on often means like grueling world travel, constant work obligations, the pressure to always be on. It leaves very little space for that consistent, quiet, quality time couples need to connect, process things, work through conflicts. The sources use this vivid phrase, saying they've been living on an island of stress.
Wow, island of stress.
Yeah, it really hits home, doesn't it? It suggests this isolation, maybe not just from the world, but even from each other sometimes, where the stress itself becomes a wall. And when they can't communicate properly or just don't have the energy to, the relationship suffers. That makes sense. There's another powerful quote mentioned too. Sometimes love isn't enough to keep two people with different styles and outlooks on how things are done together. It can overshadow the love.
Oof, that's heavy.
It is. It suggests it's not necessarily that the love failed, but maybe that the practicalities, the fundamental differences in how they operate just became too much, especially with all that stress and outside pressure. And we have seen things publicly recently that kind of fit with this narrative, haven't we? Like Orlando going to Jeff Bezos' wedding alone.
Yeah.
Katy being on this demanding world tour.
Right. Instances where they were clearly apart, focused on their own things.
Exactly. Individual commitments taking precedence, maybe out of necessity.
And this really brings up a big question, maybe for everyone listening too. How do those constant demands, those different styles and outlooks, how do they impact any relationship, even when there's a lot of love there?
It's a universal challenge, absolutely. But for public figures like Katy and Orlando, these common issues get amplified like crazy. Think about their schedules, the travel, the professional stuff it often means, like serious sleep deprivation, just physical exhaustion.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
And then you add the relentless public interest. Every move watched, picked apart, often twisted. It creates this incredible pressure cooker environment for a partnership. Imagine having every argument, every tired glance, every private moment potentially ending up debated by millions online.
That sounds impossible.
Right. That island of stress can feel incredibly lonely. It makes it so hard to find the headspace, the emotional energy for real vulnerability, real connection, which is what any healthy relationship needs. It's just a profound challenge to keep a partnership strong when your whole life is basically under a microscope and your careers demand absolutely everything.
Yeah, definitely puts things in perspective. Now, shifting gears slightly, the sources also talk about their individual paths recently, the broader context around this. It sounds like Katy Perry especially had a bit of a tough year leading up to this news. Her latest album, 143, and the single Woman's World apparently weren't as well received as her earlier music. That's got to be tough for an artist. And there are reports of maybe slower tour ticket sales compared to her peak. Plus, remember that Blue Origin space trip back in April? There was quite a bit of backlash, and she apparently said it left her feeling battered and bruised. So it sounds like a lot of professional pressure might have been converging with the personal stuff.
It really does sound like it. And what's so often the case, and really fascinating here, is how the personal and professional lives of public figures just intertwine so visibly. A challenging year for Katy professionally. The album reception. Maybe the tour sales not quite meeting those huge expectations that could definitely add a huge layer of strain onto any relationship. I mean, that kind of public criticism about your work, your creative output, it's not just about numbers, right? It could feel deeply personal, shake your confidence.
Totally.
And the Blue Origin thing, that adds another whole dimension of external pressure, public scrutiny. Her saying she felt battered and bruised really underlines that. So you pile all that external pressure onto whatever internal relationship dynamics are happening. Yeah, it can become overwhelming.
And it's also worth remembering, isn't it, that both of them have been married before. This adds another layer of context. Katy was married to Russell Brand, famously, and Orlando was married to Miranda Kerr, the Australian model, and they share a son, Flynn, who's 14 now. So this isn't exactly their first time dealing with a public breakup or with co-parenting after a split.
That's a really vital point, actually. Their past experiences with co-parenting, it gives us a unique lens, to look at how they're handling this separation with their daughter. It suggests they have some experience, maybe even a practice way of managing these post-split family dynamics when the whole world is watching. They've both navigated this before, probably learned some lessons about what works, what doesn't, in keeping things healthy for the kids. And plus, the public nature of it all. It means even while a relationship is shifting, like they said, appearances and media reports inevitably shape the narrative, often way before anything official comes out. For instance, Page 6, the gossip site they reported on Bloom having some post-split flirtations, said he was unapologetic about flirting during a Miami trip back in April, early May.
Oh, right, around the cruise ship launch and the Grand Prix.
Exactly. And he was also apparently seen with Sydney Sweeney in Vanaus. Now, whatever the full story is there, those reports line up perfectly with the timing they mentioned in their statement, shifting their relationship over the past many months. It shows that even though the announcement is new, the changes were likely happening for a while. These public sightings, they often act like little breadcrumbs for the media, letting them piece things together before the official word drops, which just adds another layer of complexity for celebs trying to manage their private lives.
So, okay, we've unpacked a lot here. What does this whole deep dive into Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom's separation, what does it ultimately mean for you, the listener, as you think about the complexities of relationships, even the ones playing out under these massive spotlights?
Well, yeah, this deep dive, it's not really just about celebrity gossip, is it?
Yeah.
Or the latest headlines. It genuinely brings up some pretty important universal questions for all of us, I think. Their story, looking at it through these sources, really spotlights the huge pressure, the demanding careers, different life views, intense external scrutiny, how much pressure that can put on any relationship. Doesn't matter how much love is there. It really makes you wonder, what happens when the demands of your separate lives just constantly overshadow your chance to connect, to sort things out? And what does their very public, very deliberate commitment to co-parenting signal about how family dynamics might be evolving today?
That's a good point.
Yeah, we're seeing maybe less of the adversarial breakups and more of these sort of collaborative approaches, especially when kids are involved. It kind of encourages us all to reflect maybe on that tricky balance between our own personal growth and being in a partnership and just the universal challenge of staying connected when life throws so much at you, and perhaps, the quiet strength that can come from redefining what family looks like rather than just, ending it completely.